Okay, today's lesson is on solving real-world problems that require adding and subtracting rational numbers. First application is about temperature. The temperature was 3.5 degrees Celsius at noon and negative 2.7 degrees Celsius at 6 o'clock p.m. So we have two important things here. 3.5 degrees Celsius, and then 6 hours later it was negative 2.7 degrees Celsius. Find the change in the temperatures. We really don't care about the time here because it's just asking us to find the change in the temperatures. So we're starting at negative 2.7. And when we're finding change, that's telling us to find the difference. When we find the difference, we subtract. So we're going to take our final temperature, we're going to subtract our initial temperature. Negative 2.7 minus 3.5. The signs are the same, so we're going to add these numbers, but our answer is going to be negative. So we have 2.7 plus 3.5. 7 plus 5 is 12. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1 is 6. And remember, our answer was negative. So negative 6.2 tells us that there was a decrease in temperature. So we could say that the temperature decreased by 6.2 degrees Celsius. Okay, the next one says quick check. It asks for the temperature difference between negative 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit and negative 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Pause the video. Take time to try to figure this one out on your own. Write an equation and then solve it, and then check back to find your answer. Okay, once again, we have two different temperatures. It's asking us for the difference between them. So we're going to go negative 6 minus, and in this case it's minus a negative 2.5. Now remember, when we have minus a negative, that always becomes plus. So we have negative 6 plus 2.5. Now the signs of these numbers are different, so we're going to subtract. Our answer is going to be negative because the number with the larger absolute value is negative. So I'm just going to go ahead and write my negative sign there so I don't forget. Then I'm going to move over here. I'm going to do 6 minus 2.5. I need to line up my decimals when I'm adding or subtracting decimals. So I'm going to put a decimal point there, and I'm going to add a 0. Borrowing from the 6, 10 minus 5 is 5. Bring down my decimal. 5 minus 2 is 3. And remember, that was negative. So my temperature difference is negative 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's take a look at this next example. Mary decides to take a walk. She walks for 3/4 of a mile. Then her friend Sarah calls, and Mary decides to meet her. Mary walks back half a mile. She and Sarah then walk 1 1/3 miles together. How far is Mary from where she started? Okay, so let's kind of just draw a little picture of what happens here. Mary decides to take a walk, and she walks for 3/4 of a mile. So this is Mary starting out. She walks this far. Then her friend Sarah calls, and Mary decides to meet her. Mary walks back half a mile. So now Mary's going to go back half a mile. She's not going to go back as far because half is not as much as 3/4. Then she and Sarah walk 1 1/3 miles together. And it doesn't actually tell us what direction they go in, but we assume that she's going to walk in the same direction. So she and Sarah are going to walk 1 1/3 miles this way. Okay, let's write this out in an equation. She first walks for 3/4 of a mile. Then she goes back, so we're going to subtract half a mile. And then we're going to add 1 1/3 miles. Now you can do this on your calculator, or you can use common denominator. So I'm going to start with just doing 3/4 minus 1/2. I'm going to find out what that is first. Common denominator is 4, so I have 3/4 minus, I'm going to use a 4 on the bottom here. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 3/4 minus 2/4. 3 minus 2 is 1. So I have 1/4. Now I need to add my 1 and 1/3. I'm going to need to move up here. I'm going to get a common denominator. 3 does not go into 4. 4 times 3 is 12, so I can use 12 as a common denominator. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4. So I have 1 and 4/12. If I have 1 and 4/12, then I add 3/12. I have 4 plus 3 is 7/12. So she is 1 and 7/12 miles from where she started. Today's assignment is going to be to work through the guided problem-solving worksheet. Originally, the plan was to work alone for 10 minutes, compare answers with a partner, and then do class discussion. But you may decide to work as a whole class through the worksheet. And then there's a problem at the bottom of the worksheet, much like the beginning, that you can then try on your own. So instead of following these directions, I want you to work on the whole beginning part of the worksheet with Mr. Kennington or with Mr. Renninger, and then we'll go back and you guys can work on the last part for homework or in the remainder of class. Okay, have a great day.